Hang in
Dude,
there, it is.
that Smylie Kaufman for 61. Wow.
I'm Smylie Kaufman, and this is The Smylie Show.
Well, welcome to a special episode of The Smylie Show. We are joined by legend Ben Crenshaw, otherwise known as Gentle Ben. And this is a real treat for me, is obviously...
No legends here.
Okay. Well, you've always been a legend in my mind, so really fun to be sitting down with you. The week of the Masters, it's Monday of the Masters, and we're sitting here on a rainy day, have some time to maybe talk about some old times, whether it's winning 2 Masters or, you know, just your career in general. And Ben, one of the first things I think about with your game is how great you were with the putter. We got our little putting green here behind us, and that's what kind of it reminds me of how good you were around the greens. And was that something right from the get-go as a junior when you picked up a putter that just felt easy and natural to you?
You know, our old teacher, Harvey Penick, used to really encourage us to putt. He said, I want you boys to play, but I want y'all to end up on the putting green, and I want y'all to have matches with each other. It'll keep you sharp that way. And he said, you got to putt for something. Maybe it's a Coca-Cola or something. But he said it always sharpens your skills. And he wanted us to putt. And because it's such an important department of the game. And as you know, here, it's another element. You know, you play tournament golf and you get to a set of challenging greens, but then you always kind of parallel that to what your experiences are at Augusta here,
right?
Because these can be the meanest greens you could ever play.
100%.
You have to have such an imagination to putt here, and it's a lot about pace, and the pace has to be just right, and also, it's not a fable, but it's true that the putts tend to go down to the bottom of the golf course. And you know, my old caddy Carl Jackson, who helped me so much you can't believe during this time. And you know, a lot of people thought that the spot was the 12th green. And he said, no, it's really not. It's just over the back of the 11th green.
Wow.
Where the water goes out.
That's right.
Where the bridge is. Where you see the bridge. That's
you know
the low
what?
point.
It's funny you say that, because in my notes, in my Augusta National book, I have the pull going to behind the 11th green. So I got some good advice.
There you go. And it's unbelievable how many times that affects a putt over a lot of greens. And you've got to know that. And I've always thought that, you know, we've only had, like, Fuzzy Zeller's only the first-time winner.
I tried to join him.
I know you did. I know you did. But there's a lot to take in, a lot to learn, not only about the greens,
right,
but how the shots play and the change in elevation. You know, you're going to know where downhill and uphill is, what affects your club selection. But it only comes after a few years of playing.
Right.
So there's a lot to learn, but it's, to me, you know, I've played tournament golf all my life, but there was nothing, Smylie, like being in contention in this tournament. It was so much fun.
It's the best.
But it was. I know this, that my nerves were strung out like piano wire when I got in contention and in the fray. It was so exhilarating, nothing like it.
And Justin Leonard, I was reading something that he said about you, talking about how you had the best speed of any player he's ever played with when it came to your putting. And he described how you would slice putts, you would hook putts, you would putt them off the toe. And this all speaks to just the creative and the feel that you have to be a good putter, and especially for Augusta National.
There's not many places where you can play a 10-foot break and have it come around just right. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, but it's nervy. Because it can make you look silly. It's done that to me many, many times. where you have an approach putt from 30 feet and you leave it 8 feet out somewhere. But it's done that to us all.
Totally.
But also, if you do make a putt like that for a save or something, it gives you a charge like that. It gives you so much confidence.
Totally.
But, you know, the golf course to me is, you can't play safe and win this tournament. There's a way to play it safe, but you're not going to score. And there's some times where you have to ask yourself to really hit a golf shot somehow. And it's tough to do. But you could, when you know, to get close to a flag, you have to shave an edge of a bunker closely, or it has to go up a slope and then come down. It's hard to do, but when they come off, it really gives you some confidence.
And in this day and age, you know, you turn on the TV now and you watch golf, and even this past, I believe it was Saturday, the drive, chip, and putt, I'm sitting there watching on TV, and I'm watching all these juniors, and they're going through this aim point process where they're stepping all over the place, and then you see, you know, they're copying the pros, of course, who do it all the time. In your day and age when you played, if you'd have seen a player, you know, running through this type of system, you would have said, this guy's crazy. But there's obviously a formula that seems to work for these guys to figure out how to putt better.
I know it. You know, putting's very technical. The way it's taught these days are, you know, I know nothing about aim point. I know nothing about that stuff, and it's amazing. You know, and I really don't understand straddling the line of the putt. I don't. It doesn't compute with me. It's the most scientific part of the game. You know, obviously, the closer you get, the more mysterious it comes, and it can mean so much to your round. But the ways to figure it out. I think I do remember there's a line that Bobby Jones wrote a long time ago. He said, if anyone hopes to reduce putting to a science, they're in for disappointment. And it was
Boy,
so
things have changed.
I thought it made so much common sense. He said the ability to gauge a slope and the pace of a putt is the way you should do it. And
that's how I've done it.
If it was good for him, it was good for me.
And you know who else has done that is Scotty Scheffler and Jordan Spieth, two Texas guys. Man. Of course, I'm sure you have a rooting interest for anybody from the state of Texas. You know, watching Jordan Spieth did what he did in 2015, and of course, watching him in 16 and what happened. And then, of course, Scotty Scheffler, who's been on a tear over the last couple of years and has a chance to win 3 of the last 4 Masters. You know, your perspective of watching those two guys, how their games differ, and what impresses you the most about them?
I can't help it. Those two are my favorites.
Right at the top, you star, right?
Yeah, I love both of them. They're such great guys, and they've got exceptional talents. You know, Jordan has an unbelievable touch. Obviously, when he made all those putts, but his short game, his chipping is unbelievable.
Sevy-like.
Yeah, and there's not a spot where he's not gunning for the hole, or he can hit a lot of different shots. But I tell you, the tall man, Scotty, can hit some beautiful little short shots.
Underrated.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he has that upright angle of attack that really helps him.
Probably growing up on Bermuda, you know, you have to be, you know, have that descending blow on the ball, or the grain's going to get you.
That's right, and he's nervy putting too. But they're exceptional. The way they grew up, and highly competitive, both of them. But a belief in their abilities on and around the greens.
Yeah.
Scotty's ball striking with that big upright swing is just something to behold. He can hit it way high when he wants to.
Cosmo was supposed to fight Ciaran Clark, but he had to pull off injury. You get the call. You get to go in there. What was it like for you when you got that call, jumping in there and be part of this bantamweight tournament on short notice?
Terrifying, man. 2 weeks notice against a stud, but I've been preparing my whole life for it, and I couldn't say no to the opportunity, and saw what happened. I came in there and kind of shocked the world. Not kind of, I did.
Only on SportsGrid.
Malaysia Fawali, who you guys know I am a huge fan, has decided to switch allegiances and stay in league. And now she's going to go play for Kim Mulkey. Her, Flau'jae Johnson in the backcourt. It's going to be interesting to watch. You wonder sometimes with roster construction, maybe too much is not too good.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
We know your other brother Marv did the Knicks forever, but you've done just about every team in the league. You did Ames. You did Dr. J games.
But after 45 years in this crazy business, people kept telling me, you got to write a book. So I did, and here it is.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
And of course, I always loved Jordan's swing. I know that he's a little frustrated right now. He'd like to be doing a little bit better, but I think he's shown some good signs of late, and I think this place turns him on.
It does.
And I look for him to play really well.
I was reading something as well. Davis Love said there's always a little bit of magic when you talk about Ben Crenshaw, whether it was a bounce or two you got, or big moments that you had, or quotes that you gave to the press. And you can't help but think there's a little bit of magic too in Jordan Spieth. When you watch him play golf, you can't look away. And we talk about how it's the Jordan Spieth experience, but do you see that same little magic in Jordan that maybe you kind of carried when you played the game of golf?
He's had many moments. One that I can really think of is when he won the NCAA for Texas at Riviera.
He holds that shot at 15.
Unbelievable.
Against Justin Thomas, too.
You know how tough that green is, number 15.
Unreal.
At Riviera. But to see that play out that last day.
Insane.
You think, well, that's the kind of magic we're talking about. But his kind of career has been possessed with those moments, and he can do it at the right times.
So the Champions Dinner tomorrow night, I'm sure you've got so many memories from that event. Do you typically sit next to the Texans? What's the seating chart look like? And what's been your favorite Champions Dinner of all the years you've gone?
I tell you, Smylie, it's such an honor to be in that room and to see everybody together. Someone told me yesterday that this is one of the few times where all living Masters champions will be together.
Oh, wow.
Well, that'll be a special occasion. Gary Player is 90. He's almost 90.
Wouldn't be able to tell.
And no. And Jack is up there, but they are our two leaders. It's hard for me to, when I look at them, I say, well, Arnold should be here. Arnold Palmer should be here. And they've been our trio of leaders forever in that room. It's a very, very special fraternity. And it's in some ways, it's one of the most exclusive clubs that you can imagine. It started by Ben Hogan in 1952. And it was a very simple letter he wrote to the champions. He said it might be nice for us to get together for just a dinner.
Cool.
And it grew from there. Ben Hogan That was 1952 was the first one. And it was ironic that later on, Byron Nelson became sort of the host of the dinner. He was very close to Clifford Roberts. Mr. Roberts liked Byron a lot, and not that he didn't like Mr. Hogan, but he carried on that tradition of sort of leading the dinner. And I'll never forget this. I was sitting at home one day. It was Mr. Nelson gotten way up there, and he said, "Ben, Byron Nelson here. I'm unable to come to the Masters this year. My health just won't let me do it." And he said, "I want you to take over as the host of the dinner. I'm not able to come over there." And I literally dropped the phone. He said, "What happened?" I said, "Well, Mr. Nelson, I dropped the phone." And he said, "No, you love history and you love this place." He said, "I want you to lead it off, keep it light, and keep it moving." And that's what's happened.
It's pretty cool. Well, we're going to definitely get into your win in 1984 and 1995, but quickly talking about the Champions Dinner in 1985 after your win in 84. Were there nerves going into that dinner about what to choose on the menu and just speaking to that whole fraternity for the first time? I've heard players, feel, like this was more nerve-wracking than actually, finishing out on 18.
Well, it's my first year that I won, 1984. I had to order some food off the menu, the club menu, and then it changed. Then they said, well, you can have a meal that you wanted to design. So it really started changing after that. I think it was, 1984. Craig Stadler won the following year, and he had a different menu. But we've had so many exotic menus. I mean, we've had Vijay Singh had a Fijian menu.
What's been your favorite food that you've had? Like one that stands
I know
out?
who it was. It was Sandy Lyle. Sandy Lyle won in '85, and he brought in, of course, haggis from Scotland.
Oh, God.
And I mean, it was the whole deal too. They brought in the scabbard.
Oh man, was it any good?
Cut the thing. It was terrible.
It just stunk up the place, I imagine.
Oh my God. But we've had Adam Scott brought in what was called Botany Bay bugs from Australia. They're little shrimp.
Okay. Did you eat them?
Yeah, I did.
So it's like little crawfish.
Matsuyama had a beautiful Japanese meal.
That's what Jordan always said that was his favorite one.
It was exceptional. I had my last one was Salt Lick Barbecue from Austin, Texas. It was good.
I've had that. It's fantastic. Well, you got off to such a hot start in your amateur career. You won 3 national championships at Texas, individual titles. And I found it interesting that you won your first time on the PGA Tour. Actually, we just got done with the San Antonio event this past week. So that was your first win. Following week, you runner-up. So you get off to this hot start where, you probably just feel so invincible.
It was amazing. It was a heck of a time. I had been playing well, and I got out of the qualifying at the school. We all had to qualify back then, and I was playing well, and somehow I won that tournament there in San Antonio. And then we went to Pinehurst for the World Open. 8 rounds at Pinehurst, and Miller Barber beat me. And I finished runner-up. And, luckily I'd played in some pro tournaments as an amateur. I got some exemptions, and champions in Houston and Dallas and places. And I'd played some U.S. Opens, so I started to know the pros, and I've started, a little more comfortable with them.
That's good.
But, a lot of them became great friends. A lot of them call me a little punk. There's little punks here.
Not quite Gentle Ben, a little punk.
But no, it was just fun. I was learning and playing well. So I did get off to a good start.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
They've won 7 in a row. They've been dominant at Citi Field. Lindor's been insane. Pete Alonso's been raking.
Griffin Canning, David Peterson, those guys have pitched really, really well. And when you put it together with that lineup, especially like you said, Lindor's been great. They've got the makings of something very special in Queens.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Fans hate them. Like, kids go to Giant games and they're like, my father forces me to come, or my grandfather was a season ticket holder. Like, no one has fun. It's a miserable place to go.
The Giants' problem has always been over the last several years, and it's been the reason why Barkley never really got off, is the offensive line.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of 15.5 points live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Well, you were part of 4 Ryder Cup teams, and as we head into a big Ryder Cup this year at Bethpage, Keegan Bradley, he's a player that very well is talented enough to qualify on points. You've been a player. You've also been a captain when we think about that 1999 Ryder Cup at Brookline. Just thinking about what faces Keegan Bradley as a captain and as a potential player, what comes to mind for you of what faces him?
First of all, Keegan's very competitive, really competitive. He's playing really well. He could
really well.
I actually texted him a good while ago, and I said, just keep making the team. You're playing great. He's a leader. Mm-hmm. He's a leader, and I know that many nights he puts his head on the pillow and he's going, how am I going to pair these guys? And
did you have the same thing?
Yeah, because you don't want to make a mistake. But it's an impossibility that your pairings will be infallible. It doesn't work that way. You have some guys that you wouldn't think that would do well excel in the Ryder Cup. There's an extra gear that sometimes they find. But you know one thing, those guys live and breathe for the Ryder Cup. And it's maybe at the top of their list. It's amazing. And they've got some unbelievable players.
Do they ever? And I think one of the big debates amongst golf fans or analysts, and it's always how they assemble a team, talking about a captain. For you, were you somebody that relied more so on form, experience, or a player who maybe is young, didn't have the experience that you just believed in?
I had most of my thoughts were how my players were going to get around the country club in Brookline.
That particular course.
To me, and how they're going to handle it. And it's one of my favorite golf courses that I've ever played. Awesome. And it's a little quirky.
Blind tee shots.
A lot of blind tee shots, old-fashioned. You got to know the greens are smallish. Mm-hmm. But how well they prepared and what that golf course could give them. You have to play some imaginative golf there. Wow, we were getting thrashed.
10-6 going into Sunday, right? Before your big speech?
4 points. I did. I told them, I said, look, every time they've had a competition here, an American has won. And I said, don't let this be the other way. And I could tell that the afternoon before the last match, I could tell how well these guys were playing, and they were just getting beat by the smallest margins, but they were knowing the course better, and they were fired up, and they were kind of spirited and angry, and I've never seen, they started so well that last day. It was an explosive start, and boom, we were right back into it.
Yep.
So, and I tell you what, Hal Sutton, I've never seen a guy play so well. He played the dangest golf that week of anybody. He was the backbone of the team.
Is that who you followed a lot watching?
Yeah, he was, and the team, rallied around him. His words were unbelievable. But here comes Justin Leonard. That was the most amazing finish. And that putt on 17 was just, it was like a meteor. It was like a meteor hit. And it was our day. It was our day.
Well, it's going to be
a heck of a team next year.
You sure did, and it's going to be in another incredible Ryder Cup, especially coming off Rome, where it felt like the Europeans never were going to let the United States have a chance that week.
They played well.
They did play well, and I'm really excited to see how these teams take shape. I'm sure you're going to have a rooting interest as well. Maybe some Texans will be on that team. We'll have to see.
I'll tell you who's kind of high on my list to contend this week. Oberg. Man, he looks really good to me.
He's, I think he was built in a lab.
He got a taste of it last year, finished runner-up here. And I know he has to love it here. But watch that guy play. I love the way he goes about it. He does not take long over the ball. And, man, can he take a cut at it. Beautiful.
This has been fantastic, man, and I always appreciate your kindness. I think when anybody spent any time around you, they feel like they met a friend they've known for a very long time. And for me, you've always been so kind to me, especially when I was going through my struggles in the game of golf. You sent me a note a time or two, and it's meant the world to me. And always been a big fan of yours, and of course, love the rest of your family and Julie. So it's always a pleasure.
Smylie. Well, you've always been somebody who people love you, and you do such a good job. And I never forget playing with you, and you played well here. And so I just carry on your work. We enjoy listening to you.
Thank you, Ben. Well, I appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
Your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never does.
They played side by side with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't that he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers.
Ever got to Texas.
It wasn't that he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian made very clear the entirety of the time that Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick, Arch Manning is not that good and not deserving of being first overall is asinine. It is wrong. It is incorrect.
I told you he's going to be #1 overall. My whole thing was I'm buying him.
You're doing your thing now where you double down on a take that is incorrect.
The best quarterback prospect to ever hit college football can't play.
He's
over
not
a 7th-round
There were
pick
two
who didn't even
perfectly
play
rated
good.
quarterback recruits in the history of the sport.
Quinn Ewers couldn't even play at Ohio State. He couldn't even play at Ohio State.
Quinn Ewers, go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.